for this week's Cry Corner, y'all probably saw this, but Cubic, a Monero mining pool, that's not the language used, but that's my understanding, claims majority control of Monero hash rate, raising 51% attack fears. So earlier this week, this company Cubic, which is led by former IOTA co-founder Sergey, so this is payback, Ivan Cheglo, claims to have controlled over 51% of Monero's hash rate, potentially enabling it to reorganize blocks, censor transactions, and attempt double spends. And my understanding with this, so the IOTA co-founder, and by the way, shout out to anyone out there who remembers IOTA, the DAG days with all of these wacky new consensus mechanisms that never ended up doing anything. But so apparently he's saying this was to stress test Monero. And, it's kind of like I'm doing a public service to see if this is even possible. But apparently they were paying Monero miners and incentives, like they were basically offering them more for their hash rate than they could conceivably earn from other pools or from self-mining to aggregate their hash rate. And then they ended up reorganizing blocks and attacking the network. There was a little bit of contention on Twitter about whether or not this is technically a 51% attack. I don't think they actually got to that threshold, and they never ended up double spending. But I think 51% of attack is more like a vibes definition. It's describing a scenario in which a miner ends up accruing enough hash rate to do meaningful damage to the network. In theory, you don't actually need 51% to do some of these things that they did. 33% to 50% could be enough. And as long as you have enough hash rate to win successive blocks, then you can reorg and you can orphan blocks that are on the chain that you don't want to be canonical, right? So far, in terms of damage to Monero, Monero's down about 8.6% in the past 5 days and 18% in the past month. The reputational damage from something like this is pretty staggering. There are two other things I want to note. One, there was I think one of Ledger CTO or one of Ledger's C-suites was tweeting about this, and he said that it would cost like $75 million to attack Monero per day. I don't think that's true. That seems way overblown to me. I saw some other figures. I didn't run them myself that said it was more like in like the $100,000 range, which is still expensive, but that's not crazy when you consider what you can do with one of these attacks, right? And that's not really that much money in the grand scheme of things to some of these crypto folks. The other thing too is this comes at a wild time. We just last week got the Tornado Cash guilty verdict for Roman Storm. He was not convicted of money laundering or violation of sanctions, but he was convicted of operating an unlicensed money transmitter business. And that also came on the heels of the Samurai Wallet devs striking a plea deal for the same thing, saying that they operated an unlicensed money transmitter business. So you kind of have like the three horsemen. It always comes in threes. Or maybe if there's three horsemen, we're waiting for the fourth here. But, we have Samurai devs taking the plea deal. You have Roman Storm getting convicted. Now you have Monero, really the, chief privacy coin, getting, 51% attacked. That doesn't do anything to de-anonymize the transactions on Monero, but it does harm the network and inflict some pretty grave reputational risk.
I would say it's concerning that someone has a hash rate concentration that high, but it doesn't actually seem like anything bad happened. So what is it here that's happening under the hood, right? Is basically if someone amasses a certain amount of hash rate, they could privately mine the longer chain and then reorg the canonical chain, right? And then they would essentially have the longer, most accumulated proof of work upon the merge, and people, by definition, will choose that chain, right? And really, I think there's just selfish mining tactics here where they do that and then they extract more rewards via the reorg after the fact. But I don't believe they're actually censoring transactions or trying to commit a double spend, which that is, of course, more malicious behavior, right? Some kind of empty block attack, or, of course, committing a double spend is almost like a poison pill that people are very fearful of potentially happening. Hurts the integrity of the system. But it's kind of these sorts of things, I think, are educational events I feel like, for the cycled newcomers that come into the Bitcoin community every couple years. We talk a lot about markets and ETFs and regulatory developments, right? But some technical foundations of how the systems work, I feel like a lot of people don't actually approach until something like this comes up, and then you can talk about it and you can actually learn, like, oh, this is what happens. This is how we would come to consensus in this type of situation. This is what power miners actually have in the system. So while, sorry, Monero folks, it really isn't that big of a deal right now. I do kind of think that this is almost a good thing for the Bitcoin community. Lastly, you mentioned IOTA. Whatever happened to the Internet of Things? We don't talk about Internet of Things anymore.
No, we don't.
It's all AI these days. Whatever. They were going to build smart cities. I feel like I've been gypped. I want a smart city. I think that was they were signing plans with different mayors, I think, back in the day. So this is like 7 years ago, probably, at this point.
Oh, it was, for sure. We've got kind of a twofer here for the Cry Corner. So this is IOTA, and to zoom in on what Matt was saying, the concept of this was that, in the future, you're going to have all of these smart devices, and those smart devices are going to need to make payments to each other. Your dishwasher is going to have to pay your refrigerator for the excess electricity that it's using to wash your dishes, or some BS. I don't know. But the idea was that you were going to have this currency that would allow machines to make payments to each other. And it had this this consensus algorithm, or a mechanism called DAG, which is stands for I can't even remember. It's something I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But anyway, this chart shows you just how dumb 2017 and 2018 were. So in 2017 and 2018, all of these new cryptocurrencies and ICOs were popping up with all of these wild edge cases. And IOTA was at one point, I think, almost in the top 10, if not in the top 10 of cryptocurrencies in terms of market value. And you can see it kind of the blow off top here in 2017. It reached a peak price of $5.37. But now it's just, there's nothing going on, right? Its market cap is still almost $1 billion, which is insane to me. But as far as I'm concerned, the project is totally dead. And you're right. AI is, that's the new hype. No one cares about Internet of Things because no one wants smart devices. I don't want to talk to my fridge and have it give me the weather. I don't need my dishwasher to be connected to the internet.
I feel like promises were unkept. I'm upset. We have AI and we have self-driving cars, but our cities aren't smart. And so frankly, this has ruined my day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the episodes we put out. Also, check us out on Spotify, Apple, and elsewhere.